Hurricane Earl is churning in the Gulf, and some coastal areas are already feeling the effects of the storm. Good afternoon. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Mike Bono. Many Gulf states are preparing for Hurricane Earl. Emergency management officials are urging residents to keep a close watch on the storm and heed any evacuation orders. Janetta Jones joins us from the Forecast Center with the latest on the storm.
Thanks so much, Mike. We are watching very closely what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico. Already a lot of folks are feeling the effects in the form of heavy rainfall and some strong gusty winds. Let's give you the latest information as of 1 o'clock Central Daylight Time. About 140 miles southwest of Destin, Florida, winds up to 90 miles per hour, and the movement has been nearly stationary. We do have hurricane watches and warnings. The watches extend from Pascagoula, Mississippi to Grand Isle, Louisiana. That does include New Orleans, and of course the warnings in the red from Pascagoula to Suwannee River, Florida. We also have tropical storm warnings in effect from Pascagoula to Grand Isle, Louisiana. That does include New Orleans, and of course from Suwannee River, Florida to Anclote Keys, Florida, we have tropical storm warnings in effect. Want to let everyone know we also now have a tornado watch in effect for portions of northern Florida. If we can show that for you, you will see that, yeah, we are looking at the threat for not only severe weather, but possibly tornadoes. So tornado watch in effect for you until late this evening as we watch closely what is happening with Hurricane Earl. We have a crew standing by in Panama City Beach, Florida. Our own Bill Keneally is there. Bill, can you give us the latest on the conditions and evacuations, if any?
Sure can, Janetta. Again, we're here on Thomas Drive on the east end of Panama City Beach at the dunes of Panama. This place is a fortress. It withstood Hurricane Opal, and I'm sure it'll hold up just fine for anything Earl can throw our way. Looking behind me, Janetta, you can see the high surf. It's amazing looking from above. These are just like rolling pins rolling in off of the Gulf of Mexico. They're probably on the order of 4 to 5, maybe occasionally 6 feet. The wind is still from the northeast, so it's actually a bit of a land breeze right now, with the orientation of the coast being more from the northwest to the southeast. But it is gusty. Right here I'm a little protected, but on that beach itself, I'd say winds are probably 30 to occasionally 40 miles per hour. Now the evacuations are voluntary. If you have to get out, please do so very soon though. And as far as people in mobile homes, I recommend you getting out even if you're off of the beaches. But the evacuation here on the barrier islands and here on the beachfront is voluntary for the time being. So we'll be watching the rainfall. The rain, the big issue right now, Janetta, heard some cracks of thunder a minute ago as well, but I'm sure the wind will be picking up before too long.
All right, thank you so much, Bill Keneally, reporting live from Panama City Beach, Florida. We'll be checking back with him throughout the afternoon and into the evening hours. I'm joined now by hurricane expert John Hope. John, we have been watching this very closely. It's been kind of an unusual system.
Well, it hasn't been highly organized, even though it's finally got to be a hurricane anyway. What we haven't seen is a whole lot of organization right around the center of the storm. And all the strong winds have been on out well east of where the center is. This afternoon we could see a little more evidence around the west side of the eye, just off the mouth of the Mississippi River. There's some stronger winds there, but we haven't seen any hurricane force winds there yet.
Talking about the winds, let's look at some of the wind gusts that have been reported up to 30, even 40 miles per hour at times.
And they've been stronger than that. We have the automated stations, say at Dolphin Island, and they're gusting to about 50 miles an hour.
Okay, and we can expect this to continue and maybe even intensify.
Oh yes, yes, as the center gets closer to the coast, the winds will pick up some.
It's going to be a rough night for a lot of folks. Already we see the rain that has been heavy at times for folks in northern Florida, as Bill Keneally was reporting. We do have flash flood watches in effect. These may be extended, you think, John?
Oh yes, I think they'll be extended and expanded because lots of rain is going to fall over land.
All right. I'm told that we can go to a phone interview right now with Captain John Gallagher with the Hurricane Hunter aircraft. He's a meteorologist on board there. Captain Gallagher, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you just fine.
Can you tell us what you're finding right now in the hurricane?
Well, right now it's actually kind of nice. We're working down in the southwest corner of the hurricane, and as you might expect, this is the area with the least amount of activity. It has seen a lot stronger winds than when I last spoke to you several hours ago. It has increased in strength, but overall, this still is the calmest area.
All right, thank you so much, Captain Gallagher. Obviously, we're having a few difficulties since they're up in the air right now investigating what is going on with Hurricane Earl. Once again, I am joined by hurricane expert John Hope. John, as they are in there right now, I suspect they're looking at some winds up to 90 miles per hour, as we were saying.
Well, they found some even stronger than that, well out east of the center, but back toward the center they don't have any that strong. Again, I'd just like to emphasize that all the hurricane force winds that we have seen are well east of where the circulation center is. Circulation center, Janetta, you can sort of see the right about in that area now, and moving again toward the east-northeast.
All right. Looking at our satellite vantage point, obviously quite evident that most of the convection has been to the east this entire time.
And that's still the case. Everywhere east of the center, that's where the heaviest rain has been, and that continues to be the case. Although a little more now kind of winding around the west side, but not nearly as much as we have to the east.
What can you tell us about the forecast, John?
Well, the forecast, last advisory indicated that it wasn't moving very much, but looking at the last several reconnaissance pictures and also the satellite pictures, I think it's still moving toward the east-northeast, somewhere between northeast and east-northeast. I think it's going to continue that, and I think the center will come ashore sometime tonight within the warning area.
All right, we will have to keep you posted, certainly. Thank you so much, John Hope. We'll check back with you in about half an hour. As always, if you have other questions about what's going on with the weather in your backyard, you can tap into the Weather Channel's online service at weather.com if you're away from your television set. Now we go back to the studio.
Well, we are looking at some rough weather in the northeastern part of the United States, some thunderstorms and even a severe weather watch as a cool front comes through that area. Let's take a look at our satellite review right now, and we'll see what's happening exactly. And what's happening is that we're looking at quite a few clouds in the Great Lakes moving into the northeastern United States, and the heat wave goes on. For September, it's a little bit too hot. Of course, in Texas and Oklahoma, parts of the plains and the west is very hot, but that happens sometimes in early September. Of course, Bonnie's clouds, not Bonnie, but Earl's clouds moving on up, and we have a line of thunderstorms in the northeast connected with a severe thunderstorm watch, along with our tornado watch that Janetta was talking about from squalls running way ahead of Earl in the Atlantic. These, by the way, Danielle's clouds peeling on out to sea. We had some stormy weather in Delaware that has now moved on out in the Delaware Bay, Atlantic City, New Jersey, but now thunderstorms moving into New England as we see them in New Hampshire. Watch out if you're hiking on the Long Trail in Vermont. Things get chilly with these showers. It's not a very hot, humid air mass. Showers moving and marching with thunder on Interstate 90. That would be the New York State Thruway east of Syracuse and Utica. And Williamsport, you're seeing some severe thunderstorm warnings come out right near Williamsport, as well as in Lancaster County, further south in Pennsylvania. So you have your cool front with some pleasant weather in Chicago and Detroit, but well, a little bit too hot in the west. A lot of sunshine, some showers in the southwest, but it doesn't look like as many as the last few days. Clouds and fog hugging the coast north of about Santa Barbara all the way.
Well, coastal residents are keeping a close watch on Hurricane Earl. Good afternoon and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Rich Johnson. Winds are picking up along the Gulf Coast. Some of the main concerns with this hurricane are the heavy rains. The storm's slow movement could increase the amount of rain in many coastal areas. We're tracking the storm in our forecast center. Mike Bono has the latest.
Thanks a lot, Rich. Yes, Hurricane Earl is gaining strength over the Gulf of Mexico, and it hasn't made landfall yet. We're looking at a dangerous storm here. Let's take a look at the latest coordinates. We have them as of 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time. This is current. The center located 100 miles south-southwest of Destin, Florida, and the winds have been increased to 100 miles per hour. There have been some gusts and some surges of wind reported by reconnaissance aircraft of 100 during the afternoon, and thus we have a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane now, moving northeast at 10 miles an hour approximately, and the pressure has been reported as low as 986 millibars. That's a sign of strengthening. What this means is we now have a Category 2 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale, capable of moderate damage. We're talking wind damage on shore and damage from water and waves and storm surge. Hurricane warnings still up from Pascagoula, Mississippi. This has not changed to the mouth of the Suwannee River in Florida. And watch out for hurricane force winds and tides that go along with that anywhere in this area. And hurricane watch is still in effect Pascagoula to the Grand Isle of Louisiana, and tropical storm warnings Pascagoula to Grand Isle, Louisiana, as we see the position of Earl right now with a tropical storm warning Suwannee River to Anclote Keys in Florida. And with the wind coming around this storm, this quadrant could be very, very windy. So I would really be very careful in that portion of Florida until this thing makes landfall. Storm surge from Pensacola to Keaton Beach, somewhere in here, you may see 4 to 8 feet. On the latest advisory, now that it's been strengthened, we've seen possibilities of 8 to 11 foot storm surge, and that could be very bad in these low-lying areas. Could go inland to maybe a quarter of a mile in some places. A tornado watch is in effect in Florida, and we have seen some tornado warnings, which we'll get to in just a minute. Well, we have crews on the beach. We have crews in Florida getting a lot of rain, and the wind is picking up. Bill Keneally in Panama City, what does it look like right now?
Mike, trust me, we are protected right here. This is a large building. This is a fortress, the Dunes of Panama on Thomas Drive on the eastern end of Panama City. And once again, this is a buffer. Behind me, you can see there's between the buildings an opening. This is the pool area. Note the wind pulling those palm tree leaves back out over the water. The winds, I would suspect, probably in excess of 60 miles per hour. Yes, there is some tunneling going on there, but the wind is strong enough, Mike, is actually pulling some of the water out of the pool behind me. Behind me, again, is looking out over the open water. You can see the Gulf of Mexico rather angry tonight. The long swells are rolling in. They're breaking pretty far out there. You can see one real dark one out there, Mike. I'd put that at the order of 6 to 7, maybe even 8 feet. The tide will be coming in later on this evening, about the 9:30, 10 o'clock hour, so we'll be watching. Thankfully, there's not a great big variance to the high tide, but nonetheless, we'll have to worry about the prospect of water if the winds start turning more off of the water. Hopefully things are a little better in nearby Alabama. For that, let's get a report from Jim Cantori in Gulf Shores. Jim?
Yeah, Bill, I'll tell you right now, in Gulf Shores, Alabama, this is a major problem here, especially given the size of this surf. We're looking at 8 to 10 foot waves coming in. And I'll tell you, the good news is, if this keeps moving at the present course, we're probably not going to be in that eastern semicircle east of the circulation center. And that's a good thing, because I'm telling you, where I'm standing right now, I would probably be underwater. There are no dunes here, at least where I'm standing, and as far as I can see. And I mean, basically the water is right up on, I mean, everything's built right up onto the beach here. And you can see the water off toward this pier here, and the waves just crashing about halfway up through this pier. So we're getting huge breakers here, and we're just about at high tide now. So, you know, this is unbelievable. I couldn't imagine if the circulation center was farther west. But as you are in Florida, a lot of this area, especially Baldwin County, is basically shut down right now, and they may be as well tomorrow, but so far we haven't heard any word on schools and whatnot. But the biggest problem is going to be the potential for some heavy rain and obviously this wind. Now I'm basically protected here around the Best Western and the Holiday Inn off to my right, so I'm not getting the full brunt of the winds right now, which could easily be 30 to 50 miles an hour. We have had a gust around 50 earlier on. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Jim Cantori on the Alabama coast. It looks like it could get worse before it gets better. Thanks a lot, Jim. Well, now our tropical expert, John Hope, is here. And, John, we see a storm that's in the strengthening mode at this point in time and threatening the Florida panhandle.
Well, we don't think it'll get much stronger than that. Now it's up to Category 2 on the Saffir-Simpson scale, as you pointed out, 100-mile-an-hour wind. But we would emphasize that these 100-mile-an-hour winds are in a very small band here just east of where the circulation center is. Now, the way this is moving and is expected to move, some of those winds could be coming ashore, or near the shore anyway, on the Florida panhandle a little bit later tonight.
With this quadrant over here being generally the highest wind speed.
That would be by far the highest. As far as I've been able to determine, we haven't had any winds sustained hurricane force to the west of the center, although we do have some pretty strong and gusty winds here around Mobile and Pensacola.
As we look at the radar, we notice the rotation of rainfall and some very heavy rain just offshore Panama City, and maybe even the center of the storm showing up on the radar.
Well, we can not see it too well, but we can tell where it is from the reconnaissance aircraft. Right down in this neighborhood here is where the center is, as found by the reconnaissance aircraft just a few minutes ago. Yes, it does not yet show up very well on the radar. Center.
Panning out, we could see a lot of rain. We note that we had tornado warnings in Citrus and Hernando counties in central Florida, and Sumter County still has a tornado warning in effect. No tornado spotted, but this is very, very possible in a situation like this.
Very often we see them, and that certainly could happen.
A little concerned about this Appalachia Bay area as the winds come on in ahead of the storm for possible 8 to maybe 11 foot.
That's right. They could be as high as 8 to 11, and then here beyond the Big Bend country a little later when the storm gets a little bit farther over, we were concerned about that whole Appalachia Bay area. because that's very shallow there, very vulnerable to storm surge.
And not too much of a dune line there either.
Not much.
Okay, there it is, our storm churning through the Gulf of Mexico, not too far from the Florida coast. Thanks a lot, John. You'll be back again.
Right. And we want to emphasize it is moving, Mike.
Yes.
It is moving.
Okay, northeast at about 10 right now.
Exactly.
John Hope, our expert. As we keep you posted, we have a Category 2 hurricane now approaching the Florida Panhandle with a lot of heavy rain and the potential for very high water and some wind damage. If you're not watching TV, on the internet, it's weather.com for the latest from the Weather Channel's website. You'll want to check that out. Now back to the studio. Here's Rich Johnson.
All right, thank you very much, Mike and John. Other events across the country, 90 and even 100-degree temperatures cover a big part of the nation this Wednesday. Proof that summertime is still here. We'll talk about that in just a second. First of all, a little bit of roundup on the rest of the southeast, where we are looking at some thunder showers from Athens all the way over toward Atlanta, somewhat indirectly associated with the hurricane, one of those little bands well out in advance of it. Looking across Florida, showers and storms. There are some pretty big storms out in Hardy County, Polk County.
Near future. As this work is being done, you may experience temporary interruptions. We will do our best to keep this inconvenience to a minimum. And later this year, look for our brand new channel lineup. Thank you for choosing Comcast. Everything you connect with.
Now your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
Welcome to the Tropical Update. I'm Bob Stokes. Hurricane Earl is churning in the Gulf of Mexico and is very close to the Gulf Coast. One locale that it's impacting is Panama City, Florida. And standing by in Panama City, Florida, or trying to stand by in Panama City, Florida with the gusty winds, is our own Bill Keneally. Bill, how are you holding up out there?
Literally, we are holding on for dear life out here, Bob. We're not afforded the protection of the building anymore, as you can obviously tell. The winds are blowing out of the east. They're probably upwards of 75, maybe as high as 80 miles per hour. I want to take you back here just briefly. You can see behind me there is a pool, and literally that wind is pulling the water right out of the pool, and it's headed right for the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico is angry out there tonight, folks. The wind is howling. The rain is coming down incessantly. The bridge off the island, I'm going to guess, is now closed at 55 miles per hour sustained. The Hathaway Bridge gets shut, so you cannot get off Panama City Beach. And that is what we're recommending. The mayor telling me he wants everybody to hunker down and just ride it out. We're 4 to 5 hours out from probably the worst conditions, so please heed the advice and stay home, and hopefully you can maintain power. And we'll keep posting you updates here on cable. So, Bob, it's pretty bad here now. Unfortunately, we're suspecting things to get a whole lot worse. Back to you.
They are expected, and they do look bad. Thanks a lot, Bill, for being out there for us. Yes, the center of circulation expected to make landfall sometime tonight. Let's check it out right now. It is a tropical update, and here are the coordinates of Hurricane Earl, with winds increasing to 100 miles per hour around the center of circulation, and it's moving toward the northeast at 10 miles per hour. It had been close to stationary, and by the way, this tropical update brought to you by Walmart. Pressure 986 millibars. That's pretty low, and it's centered 100 miles south-southwest of Destin, Florida, not too far from where Bill is. There's our hurricane warnings. This means hurricane force winds imminent over the next 24 hours from Pascagoula, Mississippi down to Suwannee River, Florida, and there is our hurricane watch from Pascagoula to Grand Isle, Louisiana. And tropical storm advisories in effect along the New Orleans area. These are warnings, as well as from Suwannee River, Florida, down to Anclote Keys, Florida. Here's a look at Hurricane Earl. It has been strengthening. The strongest winds on the eastern side of Hurricane Earl. Our concern, a big concern, not only the very heavy rains, but the high surge, the storm surge, which could be 8 to 11 feet in this general area. That's a very dangerous situation, and of course the winds themselves now around 100 miles per hour. We'll be updating you. Here's a look at Hurricane Danielle, touching on Danielle. 80 mile per hour winds moving away from the United States and continuing to weaken over time, and it looks like it's becoming a lot more ragged than it had compared to yesterday, but only boating interests need to be concerned as this was moving out to open waters. But we are concerned about a tropical disturbance east of the Greater Antilles. This is Cuba. This is the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This is Puerto Rico. This has a chance for some organization. It's already shown signs of a low-level circulation. We'll be keeping an eye on it as time goes on. And there's a closer look at the situation. Stay tuned for more and your local forecast coming up.
I'm meteorologist Bill Keneally. We're here in Panama City, Florida, tracking Hurricane Earl. We'll have a full report for you on Weather Center following your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by Walmart. Always low prices, always Walmart.
It starts here. It starts here. It also